Hey gang, Greg. Hey, I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit on the nutrition side about calories. And I know that when I say this, it's like there's a lot of people out there. Probably, I know what calories are. You don't need to really talk about them. But if you're struggling, trying to control and manage your weight without having a real understanding, a true understanding of what calories really are, then and at least a good foundation, then it's a lot tougher than you think. So let's start. For one thing, what is a calorie? Well, a calorie it is a unit of measurement, and in fact, it's kind of an outdated unit of measurement. It was a measurement of energy in physics and chemistry. So the energy that it takes to heat up 1 gram of water, 1 degree Celsius, is 1 calorie, and that is calorie with a small c. Now, that's not a lot of energy, but for practical purposes, looking at our bodies as an energy producing machine, it wasn't realistic because those calorie numbers would get up into the hundreds of thousands, and it would be hard to really understand what that would mean. What we commonly refer to as a calorie, which is a capital C calorie, or a big calorie, is based on a kilogram or 1,000 grams, not just 1 gram. So big C calorie is the ability to heat 1,000 grams or a kilogram of water 1 degree Celsius. And so 1,000 grams, just to give you an idea, is about equal to 1 liter. So that's much more realistic. And so that's the basis of how a calorie, that unit of measurement, is calculated. However, there is another unit of measurement for energy that is used universally, and that's the joule. That's not Jewel joule, but Joule joule. And same sort of thing. It's a small unit of measurement. So they also call it a kilojoule. So a kilojoule, or kJ, is the current unit of measurement really for the rest of the world outside the United States. Like countries like Australia and France, actually on their nutrition facts labels do have kilojoules and not calories. So something just for you to be aware of. The USDA, they have their recommended dietary allowance, or RDA. So for total calories in a day, the RDA is 2,000 calories for women and 2,500 calories for men. And but I personally like to just call it 2,000 even for both men and women. The reason why they do an extra 500 calories that men can take in is that generally men have more muscle. Muscle is protein, and protein has a little bit higher demand on calorie uptake, right? So the use of calories. And so that's the reason for the discrepancy. So now's a good time to talk about calories in versus calories out again. So if you're taking in food and you say reach that 2,000 calories for the day, and then throughout the day, and our bodies are using up and burning off calories, again, the energy that's being produced both in a steady state or in a resting state, which is where actually most of our calories are burned off during the day. It's called a resting metabolic rate or a basal metabolic rate. That's RMR or BMR. And that's a significant amount of the calories that we use. And that's really just the functions that it takes for everything to be used. Our brain, for instance, is only 3% of the mass, but has about 20% of the demand for calories for energy usage. So just as an example. So, without even really moving, exercising, or doing anything like that, our heart beating and all of that is being accounted for during the basal metabolic rate that is established, that is taking a good chunk of those calories out. But let's say, for instance, that you kind of match, for instance, the calories that you had taken in that day by either exercising or working. So non-exercise related activities, called NEAT, is also something that goes into that equation. And you say you burn off 2,000 calories. So you take in 2,000 calories, you burn off 2,000 calories. So you've kind of met, the demand with supply. And so that equilibrium means that you're not going to gain or lose weight, but you're just maintaining. What happens then if, for instance, you take in 3,000 calories, but only burn off 2,000 calories during a day? So you all of a sudden, there's 1,000 more calories that you took in. That's called a calorie surplus. That's where if you don't burn off all those calories, your body's going to find a way to store it for later use. So it does that in two different ways. Your body, once it brings in calories, it breaks everything down into glucose molecules for energy usage. If you do not use that, then the liver will produce glycogen from those glucose molecules. And that is a unit of storage. And glycogen is stored both in the liver and in the muscles. And then also, if there's additional glucose left over, it gets converted by a process called lipogenesis into triglycerides and actually gets added to adipose tissue, which are fat cells. So the last stage of that is that all that energy gets converted to fat. So, which is okay if it's a little bit of fat. We always need to have those fat stores as for long-term storage in case we need it for slow burning energy demand. So now let's look at the other side. So let's say, for instance, that you take in 1,500 calories but burn off 2,000. So now all of a sudden you had 500 calories less than you burned off for that day. Well, now you're in a calorie deficit. And that's good for weight loss. The numbers don't lie. And if you are 500 calories down for that day, then for sure that will be affecting weight down the road. And in fact, 3,500 calories is what it takes to lose 1 pound. So that's a figure that's about an average, but it's pretty accurate. So if you need to lose weight, and let's say in a given week you are in a deficit for 500 calories per day, and you multiply that by 7, then you reach that 3,500 calories. That's 1 pound of loss, weight loss. So in that week, you will have lost a pound. So, and you do that maybe throughout the month, and you've lost 4 to 5 pounds in that month, and that's legitimate weight. So that's fat tissue loss. So that's a good thing. All in all, that's kind of a quick little brief on calories. And there are some resources where you can learn more about calories and how they relate to the different types of foods, so that you can kind of get familiarized with how many calories, for instance, the different foods have. The 3 macronutrients: proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. Proteins for structure, for your body's structure. Carbohydrates and fats go directly into this energy metabolism that I've been talking about. If for each gram of protein or carbohydrates that you consume or ingest, that's 4 calories added. And the only difference is we're looking at fat. Now, fat is 9 calories for every gram, so it's more than double. So there are several resources that can kind of give you an idea of how many calories of proteins, carbohydrates, and fats are in the types of foods that you'll be eating, and you can get a rough estimate of approximately how many calories you'll be bringing in. And of course, calories, as you're bringing them in, is energy potential. It's not used up yet. So you have to think of it kind of like a car. It's the gasoline that you're going to be bringing into the car, and when there's demand, when you're going somewhere in that car, then it burns it off, and that tank starts to lower. And that's a good way to kind of look at this relationship of calories in versus calories out. So anyway, to finish it up, there's lots of resources right on a lot of packaging in the grocery store. And we'll go over this later in another video, but are your nutrition facts labels, or NFLs. And they do base their servings on 2,000 calories per day, and they're going to show you your daily percentages based on your recommended dietary allowance, and they will show you how many grams of each of the three macronutrients, as well as some other micronutrient information as well on those labels. So that's a cool thing. And then there are a whole lot of government sources. The one you probably want to start off with is going to the USDA, or the Department of Agriculture, and they have myplate.gov, and that's going to get you started on a lot of information with regard to calorie and energy usage. And then finally, there are some apps that you can get, some calorie trackers. MyFitnessPal, which I think is an Under Armour product. Lose It is another one. MyPlate.gov has their own. And one that I really do recommend is an app called Calories and Food. Simply that. There's a Russian guy that made that, or a guy with a Russian name, excuse me. And but he put together a comprehensive database. It cuts through all the BS. When you get to some of these other calorie tracking apps, they're going to be very busy. And if you're not a total app nerd, then it could get a little bit tedious. But the database material from Calories and Food, it's good stuff. There is other database information that's out there and available. And then just get out there and Google stuff. There's so much to know and understand with regard to this metabolic relationship with calories, with food, and with our internal systems utilizing it. So anyway, have a great day.